last season for you was kind of like a roller coaster, right? Like I remember like the 9-day span last year where the Seahawks traded you to the Eagles, and then the Eagles traded you to the Titans, your hometown team. Man, what were the emotions of all that? Like, just kind of what was going through your head? How did you deal with that?
Man, I had to drink some water before we get into that one, man. I had to drink some water, but nah, it was definitely like a roller. It was a roller coaster. I get traded to the Eagles. I get to the Eagles. I'll never forget. We're having a joint practice with the Dolphins, and it was hot out there. I'm talking about it was scorching hot. And right after practice, the GM and the head coach pulled me to the side, and it was like, "We just traded you to the Titans." And I was like, "Are you for real?" He said, yeah. He said, "I thought you'd be happy." This is Howie. He's saying, "I thought you'd be happy." I just got here. That's what I told him.
Yeah.
I just got here.
Kind of a
Literally,
weird question to ask you.
yeah. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I just got here. He's like, yeah, man, but I knew it was for home for you, so we just wanted to make pull the trigger on it. I'm like, all right, okay, cool. So literally that same day, they fly me to Nashville. And I almost hesitated. Like I almost wanted to call my mom, "Hey, come pick me up from the airport," but it wasn't that type of, coming back home type of thing. I was like, "Hey, come pick me up from the airport." But it's like, "Oh, you got a ride and everything?" Like, yeah, I got a ride. I go to the facility. I meet the head coach and the GM, and we talk whatever. And then the next day, I'm in the building with them. That week we played preseason against the Cardinals. I made my plays preseason. We got to get ready for week one. Who do we have? We had the Giants, and then we played week 2 against the Bills. I get a high ankle sprain in that game, so I'm out for about 4 games. And then eventually after that, I end up getting released. And then a day went by. There's like a few teams calling me, but my agent didn't tell me what the teams were. He's like, I'm not really. Those teams aren't moving the needle for me. And then he calls me the next day. I'll never forget. I'm watching. I was watching Friday. I'm watching the movie, and I fall asleep watching the movie. I just look at my phone, like all these text messages. My agent's like, "Hey, answer the phone, answer the phone, answer the phone." I call him. I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "Hey, I got this team that wants to sign you." I'm like, "Who?" He said, "The Chiefs, man." So they need a vet in the building with the DBs because like they had drafted 5 young DBs, so they need a vet, to be around the DBs. I'm like, "Okay, yeah, let's do it." And I get on the phone with the GM. He's like, "Yeah, man, we're talking," and he puts me on the phone with the DB coach, OBC, and they said, "Well, yeah, we got to head out to practice, but we'll chat, once I get out." And then he said, "Let me know later on today what you have going." Cause I had other teams on the table, but
Yeah.
I was like, nah. And then later on that day, I was like, all right, let's just do the Chiefs. And then I get to the Chiefs, and then that's just history.
But Ugo, kind of going through all that, right? Like you have a home in Seattle, and then they kind of ship you off, and then you're
Yeah.
just getting on the ground in Philly, and they tell you you're going home to Tennessee, and then it doesn't work out with Tennessee, and then you go to Kansas City. Throughout that season, what did you maybe learn about yourself, like kind of going through all that, like feeling like you're not wanted, but you're wanted because you have value, right? Because a team is willing to trade for you, but then the team that traded for you doesn't ships you out, or they cut you after some time. Like, what did you maybe learn about yourself going through all that last season?
Yeah, Ben, that's a great question to ask. I think what I learned about myself is no matter the situation, circumstances, that it doesn't change who you are and what you do. Like again, when I told you I was waking up at 5 a.m. to get my body worked on, all that stuff, like I did that with every team. No matter, I could have easily be like, all right, I got released. All right, let me just coast the rest of the season and call it for what it is. No, I didn't let none of that change me or waver me. It still kept me mentally sharp, and it just goes to show that none of this stuff is really real. Like you could really say like, "Oh nah, man, like I'm not wanted or anything like that." That would really that will make you lose your confidence. And I stayed confident throughout that whole time. As hard as it could be being traded, like who's all been traded 2-3 times in 1 year,
Yeah.
been on a different team for each preseason game, like being
Yeah.
traded, like, and some people that take a toll on them. And usually how that goes is when people get traded like that, then they'll eventually wind off out of the NFL. Literally, that's just how it goes. But I stayed the course. I knew what type of talent I bring and what type of value I bring to a team. And now I'm with the New Orleans Saints. Now they want to see what I bring with them as well. So It's just all, just trusting what God has for you, man. That's the biggest thing. Because anybody else would have wavered out like, man, I'm done playing football, man. I just keep getting bounced around and all that stuff. But look at that. Look at me being traded all these other times. I could have easily just been like, with the Titans, I was like, nah, I'm done. I'm done. But then I ended up getting a Super Bowl ring out of it. Can you imagine that? If God would have told me like, "Hey, Ugo, you win the Super Bowl this year," I'm be like, "What? We win the Super Bowl?" And he ain't gonna tell me like how it's gonna happen. Like, "Hey, Ugo, you gonna win the Super Bowl this year?" I'm like, "Wow," and I'm like, "Dang, like how that's gonna happen?" Then, look at me, get traded, all that. I would have never imagined I was gonna win the Super Bowl, getting traded and cut all through all that. Man. What?